So yeah, as you can see from the title of the video, it's just going to be one of them little chatty ones. You know how they go. It's going to be like unpopular opinions. It's not going to be a dramatic one. They're not going to be, you know, ridiculous and stuff. But sometimes we need to vent and we need to, you know, go against the grain sometimes, I suppose. And that's all it really is. It's not going to be wildly exciting and what have you. So yeah, we'll get cracked on then. First one, we'll start with something I suppose kind of positive, and that's about influencers. And yeah, I want to give some sort of, you know, recognition, not of particularly of them personally per se and stuff, but I suppose if brands didn't send out endless PR to them, we'd never really hear anything about some new fragrances. Well, we would, and it'd be on Fragrantica and that, etc. Sometimes we like a bit of a visual thing. Now I know they do no more, generally speaking, they read out the notes and tell us that they're the greatest thing ever released in the history of all mankind, and that we absolutely do need to do it, but then they kind of wink at us and sample it, even though you can't sample them, and I didn't. So yeah, it's kind of, is it an unpopular opinion? No, of course. And these people create content, so, you know, would we be completely lost without them? No, but it is sometimes interesting to hear about them. So yeah, that's my first one. It's kind of saying that sometimes PR and you know, the old influencing has its purpose. I wouldn't go too far with it. That would all be completely lost without the constant thing there. I mean, because of the nature of how it works, I suppose we'd all like them to actually tell us what a fragrance smells like, really, if they like it, really, where it kind of takes them, you know, how they feel about it, because it's really hard to kind of convey a smell and what have you through this medium, although we all do it. So yeah, I would prefer it being like that, but that's never going to happen, because then they wouldn't get free bottles, and then they wouldn't exist on YouTube, most of them. Some of them would, because they actually like perfume, but yeah, so there's a positive-ish one. So next is, they get called so-called Middle Eastern fragrances, Arabian fragrances. What they are fragrances manufactured, for the most, I would imagine, in Middle Eastern countries and for a Western market. Because, I mean, this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong, but I don't think people in Saudi Arabia or Qatar, generally speaking, are wearing Latafas over Amouage or Oman Luxury or other big Middle Eastern brands. I mean, I don't know for certain, but in my opinion they won't be. And obviously they're Western marketed because they clone or are heavily influenced by popular Western brands' DNA. So yeah, what do I really think of them? Do you know, we all start with them, and there's nothing against them, and they kind of can give you an idea of what more expensive fragrances smell like and that. But it's not all brands are the same. I mean, I've got a few that I like. I bought Midnight Oud from Ardal Zafran many years ago. Still wear that occasionally because it's okay. And I've been, you know, I've mentioned a few on my channel, and they're okay, you know. And obviously they're versions of things, and then some of them aren't that bad, and they are a lot more affordable than the proper things, if you like. However, the elephant in the room is a lot of big influencers push these things, and the honest truth is they don't wear them. Whatever they tell you, they don't wear them. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. Obviously, like I said, I wear them anymore. And the quality is what you'd expect when you're paying like 10, 20, 30 pounds for something. The quality is exactly what you'd expect. They're very linear as well. That's because they're made from mainly synthetics, aren't they? Nothing wrong with that, but they don't change or adapt. What they do is they use these synthetics that are quite, well, I'm talking like stuff I don't know about here, but stable, linear, so that you get reminded of the fragrance it's supposed to smell like. So yeah, I mean, that's completely fine, isn't it? But if you offered me 100 of these Middle Eastern fragrances, or 1 bottle of Amouage, or 1 bottle of Achillean, or something like that, I'd be taking that 1 bottle than 100 things that I will not wear. And you see all these big hauls of them, and these videos endlessly mentioning how wonderful they are when they've been sent them. Do you really think them influencers are wearing them? I mean, I don't like Parfums de Marly or whatever, but do you really think they wake up in the morning and go, I'll spray Grass Oud, or will I spray Delina? They're going to spray Delina, aren't they? Let's just not kid ourselves. That's, again, I'm not saying they're anything bad or talking down about them, but once you get more into this, nobody wears them. Nobody really does, and they're fibbing to you. When you first start, we do, because you can't imagine paying stupid amounts of money for a fragrance, can you really? But eventually we do. And eventually, if there's one that you've liked that is a clone of something, you're going to go save up for that fragrance, aren't you? It's my opinion anyway. Are they worth the money? Subjective, isn't it? But again, if you're buying 10 of them, you know, and you're spending about 150 quid on 10 of them, you know, are you going to wear them all the time? I mean, don't forget the fallacy that if you leave them to sit for 6 months, they turn into the greatest fragrance ever made. It's all subjective, isn't it? But plus, when I buy a fragrance, I want to wear the fragrance. You know what I mean? But one thing that really annoys me in real life is these ripen at home peaches. They have to wait about 2 weeks before they're edible. I don't want peaches in 2 weeks, I want them now. So there is that, you know, even if that was true. It's just, this is a very long-winded one, but nobody ever says it on YouTube or anything, that they're just not very good. And that people who push them on you, who are peddling them, don't wear them. No, they don't. I mean, I can't prove that. But what do you think? They get sent PR from Lattafa or another one, let's say. It's not just Lattafa, is it? And they get sent PR by Roja Dove. What are they really wearing at home? Come on. And they're being paid to say that they're the greatest things ever and a perfect clone or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, it's a very long section. That basically, my unpopular opinion is, they really ain't that good. They are as good as the amount of money you pay for them, and that's not by me saying if you pay 200 quid for a fragrance, it's going to smell like a £200 fragrance and be wildly fantastic, because we all know that's nonsense as well. But yeah, okay. Next is one of the most hyped things this year that loads of, you know, people got sent whole collections to talk about, and well, yeah, I'd tried them all. The Charlotte Tilbury ones, they were terrible. Subjectively, I mean, I'm no expert. For me, I thought they were terrible. There wasn't one I really liked that I would ever part with money for. Certainly not the money they were asking for them. And there was the synthetic beef one. There's weird spicy saffrony Bambrox and Cashmere and bombs. You know, when I was talking about the last topic, the Middle Eastern fragrances, they wouldn't look out of place with them. But at least them brands don't charge you £120 or whatever they were for. What a joke. And again, the hype around them about how great they were. What? Charlotte Tilbury must be bloody laughing. Absolutely laughing. If they cost 20 quid or something, which, you know, I'd say fair enough, and you'd be getting a fragrance that you'd paid 20 quid for, something off the marketplace or something. So it may be unpopular and people bought them and people love them. That's completely fine. We all have different tastes and different opinions on things, but for me, I can't believe, I just physically can't believe that they were hyped and released with such aplomb. But okay, I wouldn't be surprised that the whole thing's not discontinued, or you can pick them up for 15 quid in a couple of years or so. But yeah, Charlotte Tilbury, what a laugh. So next, apparently unpopular opinion, which I find quite odd, is samples over bottles. Every time. I can't personally fathom why people buy bottles blind to sample them. Don't get me wrong, we all have a bit of a blind buy. And generally speaking, we'll blind buy something we like the sound of and, well, hope for the best. It's a bit of fun, isn't it, really? Nothing particularly against that. But what I don't get is, I suppose, hauls. Now, there are two types of hauls. There are people who buy loads of bottles to do a haul for content. Weird. Well, that's you know, that's a bit of overconsumption, really, isn't it? That's a bit, you know, how many of them bottles are you going to like? And then you're going to have to send them back or sell them, or yeah, I just that I can't fathom that. And of course there are the big hauls that are PR, which are not always disclosed. We know this, which again makes people have that FOMO and they must go out and do these blind buys. Nothing wrong with blind buying, don't get me wrong. Also with the PR, I don't really get why brands don't. I do get why brands don't send samples, because you know, influencers, they're gods. I don't do samples on my channel. I must show the bottle, not just a picture of the bottle, a bottle. Have one spray out of it, know everything in the world about it, and then sell it, because I'm God. That's, you know, that's one of the things. So yeah, samples, people have real beef with them. Apparently you can't know what a fragrance is like or talk about a fragrance from a sample. What? Why not? I admit some fragrances warrant an awful lot of wearings. But after 3-4 wearings, if I don't know I want a fragrance, then I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'm going to want it. Again, there are exceptions. There are some where you're not quite sure. But if you get into that stage and you don't know, then I'd surmise you're not really a big fan of the fragrance. Also, talking about them on your channels, do most people claim to be big reviewers and stuff? I don't think they do. I think we're just people who like to talk about fragrances, the people I watch anyway. So what exactly is wrong with a sample? It's not as pretty on screen, but again, you can just flash up a picture of the bottle. Is it as pretty on your Instagram? Well, you can be creative, can't you? Why not? That also means more likely you've bought it yourself. I mean, fancy that. So I don't understand the hate towards samples and people having beef with it. And I think when you've smelt a lot of fragrances and you've been doing it for years, again, you get more than 3 or 4 wears out of a sample, by the way. You get quite a few, actually. I don't know how many it is, I'm not a scientist. But if you can't talk it, you know, you get to know fragrances and experience them. So yeah, this video is going to be really long, but yeah, what the hell's up with samples? Get a grip, people. Why haul a massive haul of fragrances that you're not going to like any of them? Is that really good content? I suppose people like seeing it, they must do. But yeah. Anyway, that's samples are better than bottles to try things anyway. Obviously, if I like something, I don't just want a sample, I want the bottle. So yeah, fair enough. Here's another unpopular kind of thing, I suppose, that the pricing of fragrances are our fault because we keep buying them. They are charging ridiculous prices, ludicrous prices. The blatant profiteering. I mean, why else would these big supranational kind of corporations buy the name of a brand? It's so they can peddle out whatever nonsense because the name's already there, and poor quality, you know, reformulated to death nonsense. They can do that because of the name. But we know this. Members of the public, you know, normos who aren't obsessed with this will notice the difference. So, you know, why are we paying these prices? I admit it, I'm part of the problem. If we really love something, we do really want it. Although I have moved more to, unless it's indie or whatever, I've moved more to the kind of grey market, as it's called, eBay. I'm not going to pay retail for something you can get for a third of the price, and probably closer to what it's actually worth. So yeah, with the price increases, you, me, your mate, the other person, we're the problem. Because as soon as we stop paying it, oh, they will bring down them prices, because otherwise everything will collapse, won't it? So yeah. Next is that IFRA and the EU, etc., and all these bodies are a force for good. They're actually a good thing, because they're ultimately there to protect us. Sometimes we think it's a bit OTT that one person in a million might have a reaction to it. But if you were that one person in a million, also a lot of these people that have issues with IFRA and what have you, have issues with vaccines and various other linked insane things. I'm not going to get into that. Your opinion is clearly more knowledgeable than a scientist. That's up to you. But yeah, these bodies protect people. Now, yes, it is annoying that our favourite things are reformulated. Do you really think that's because of IFRA every time? And also, these are multi-billion-pound companies, a lot of the big perfumers. They don't have scientists and chemists and perfumers and geniuses who can come up with notes that are just as good and just as similar, or to tweak it. Now, you have this issue probably more so with natural ingredients, but again, how long have synthetic animalics been used? 100 years? Maybe about that. Not always, obviously some of you continue the use of them, but because we're so expensive and hard to get, it's where the synthetics grew from. What it is it's the brands. The brands are cheap. They're not going to pay a scientist to come up with something similar. They're just going to go, nothing to see here. It's definitely not reformulated. We're definitely not using much cheaper substandard ingredients here. It's definitely not us. IFRA, naughty IFRA. And that's the truth of the matter, isn't it? So I think these bodies that are there to protect us from carcinogenics and other things are actually doing a favour. It's my opinion. And finally, just a light-hearted one to kind of end it all. Believe me, this is half of my list actually, because there's loads. but I've realised I've waffled on quite a bit with some of them, and that is Dew Palm is a legend. It's one of the finest fragrances ever made. I know I always say this, and for some reason this is unpopular. Now it's still one of the best selling fragrances. This is what, 30 odd years after it was released, 35 years in fact. Will Sauvage, with its 450 million flankers, still be a thing in 35 years? Will it? Or will people go, yeah, my dad wore that or whatever, but it's a bit kind of dated. Now Dew Palm, because of the kind of bringing back of super sweet, highly synthetic fragrances, sits above them all still, doesn't it? Yes, it's synthetic, yes, it's sweet, but it changed perfumery, didn't it? And it smells good, and it was well made, it was well rounded. Yes, one spray would fill a football stadium, but actually it wasn't one of them that particularly gave you a headache. It didn't cut through your brain. It wasn't full of them modern, heavy, dense, suffocating synthetics. It was just big, because fragrances were big then, you know. Whatever it was that made them, maybe they're banned ingredients now or something that used to make 80s fragrances have such a presence. I don't know, but it's one everyone will instantly recognise. You will have a memory of someone or some point in time, even if you're young. Again, your dad, your uncle, whoever. You might not love it, you might genuinely dislike it, but you can't not say it's a legend and one of the greatest. In Fragcom we tend to pick more obscure ones that were big, but ones that we're going to say, yeah, they're cool, they're approved by us, so everyone has to agree. Dew Palm, ugh. But these other ones, you know, randomly, like what's the Dolce & Gabbana one called? Don't get me wrong, it's nice, it's alright, there's a lot like it, there was a lot like it, but it was a good fragrance. But is it? Nobody slags that off. Is it up there with Dew Palm? Really? Does everyone recognise it? Everyone? Is it still one of the best? I know it's been reformulated and changed completely now, but come on, they wouldn't have completely changed it to something completely different had it been as big as Dew. Anyway, that's my final one. Wasn't too ranty, was it? So yeah, I'll keep this very brief, because you know me, I've kind of got carried away with a lot of a lot of the little bits, and there was about another 10, maybe there'll be another video at some point. Not that anyone really wants to listen to me waffle on endlessly, but these are genuine things, and I think not all of us, but there's a great, like with every walk of society, of sheeple. Influencer says this must be true, I follow this, and it's a bit, yeah, it's the world, isn't it? I mean, it's been the world since the beginning of time. But anyway, they're my unpopular opinions. What about you? Have you got any? I mean, you could tell me I'm wrong. You know, I'm cool and down for that. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.